Did you know that, according to the Guttmacher Institute, the leading research and policy organization committed to advancing sexual and reproductive health and rights in the United States, 39 states require that sex education be taught in schools. Of those 39 states, 29 states require that abstinence be stressed when taught in schools. To no surprise, Georgia is included in the 29 states that requires abstinence to be stressed. Now, although abstinence is a piece of the puzzle when providing sex education, it is harmful to emphasize abstinence only when providing sex education in schools. To understand why states, specifically Georgia, should switch to providing comprehensive sex education, today we will examine why providing sex education that is not comprehensive can be harmful to Georgia students, Georgia's current policies regarding sex education, and lastly, how we can get involved as both voters and citizens to advocate for comprehensive sex education in Georgia schools. Georgia's sex education programs are not beneficial for students. This is a problem because sex education programs should be comprehensive in order to be fully beneficial for students. To have a truly beneficial sex education curriculum, Georgia will need to make our programs comprehensive. Now, at first glance, abstinence-heavy sex education may not seem harmful to students. So first, we will discuss in great detail why having sex education that emphasizes abstinence only is not comprehensive and harms Georgia students. Abstinence-heavy sex education is believed to have a lower rate of pregnancy. However, research shows that in fact, abstinence-heavy sex education causes the exact opposite. According to researchers at the University of Georgia, one of the oldest and most well-respected public universities, states that prescribe abstinence-only sex education programs in public schools have significantly higher teenage pregnancy and birth rates than states with more comprehensive sex education programs. Additionally, the Center for Disease Control, the nation's leading health protection agency, states that Georgia's teen pregnancy rate, which includes ages 15 to 19, is 18.2%. Now let's compare Georgia to New Jersey. New Jersey is considered to have one of the most progressive sex education laws in the country, according to 74million.org, a nonprofit, nonpartisan site covering education in America. In contrast to Georgia, New Jersey has a teen pregnancy rate of 9.2%, according to the CDC, slicing our pregnancy rate of 18.2 almost half. In addition to not helping reduce the amount of teen pregnancies we see in Georgia year after year, abstinence-only sex education also does not help to prevent or reduce the amount of STDs that we see in Georgia year after year. According to the Kids Count Data Center, a premier source of data on children and families, in 2019, Georgia had a teen STD rate of 23,200 when looking at teens ages 15 through 19. When compared to the data from the New Jersey State Health Assessment data, New Jersey's public health data resource, in 2019, New Jersey had an STD rate of 11,800, demonstrating again the ineffectiveness of abstinence-heavy sex education programs in Georgia. The Kids Count data shows that current Georgia laws regarding sex education do not help prevent teen pregnancies or STDs in the state. Therefore, Georgia should pass laws similar to New Jersey, implementing more comprehensive sex education laws that will help reduce the number of teen pregnancies and STDs we see year after year in Georgia. Georgia's teen pregnancy STD rate comes at no surprise, as we can tell from a focus group conducted by Vox ATL, a website for teen publishing and self-expression based here in Atlanta, Georgia. Fulton County teens state that they were not educated well regarding puberty and the spread of HIV. That's something that will be included in a comprehensive sex ed class. When students are not educated about puberty, they are unaware of the changes a woman's body undergoes in preparation for pregnancy, as well as a man's body in preparation to impregnate, essentially leaving them clueless. When students are educated on the use of proper contraceptives, they are more likely to apply that knowledge, reducing the risk of STDs. In addition to being educated on proper contraceptives, when they are educated on puberty, they are more likely to understand how having sex, especially unprotected, impacts the body. If Georgia students are informed about proper sex education practices regarding the risk of STDs, STIs, and pregnancy, our rates would be significantly reduced. However, Georgia teens are not being informed about the risk of STDs, STIs, and pregnancy, which are causing our rates in all three categories to increase. In addition to not helping to reduce the amount of STDs, STIs, and teen pregnancies in the state of Georgia, abstinence-only sex education does not take into account what students want to learn. In an article written by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a daily newspaper based in Atlanta, Georgia, a Gwinnett County student named Kristen Rawls stated what she hoped to gain from sex education class and the lackluster education that she was provided. Kristen stated that she wanted to learn more about how STDs are contracted, about birth control and condoms, and sexual consent. Instead, she was presented with a presentation that compared virginity to a flower and told students that no one wants a flower who has no petals. This message of being a flower with no petals is repeatedly taught to children and causes unrepairable damage. Kristen states that as a 14-year-old girl at the time, she cannot express the amount of damage that did to her. She says she still thinks about those words every time she meets someone who she might like. I cannot imagine receiving a sex education like Kristen's. Could you? To better understand what causes these startling statistics in the state of Georgia, we will now examine Georgia's current policies regarding sex education. According to Sex Ed for Social Change, also known as SECUS, an organization that advocates for the right to comprehensive sexuality, information, education, and related health services, Georgia schools are required to provide comprehensive sex education and AIDS prevention education. However, the curriculum is not required to be comprehensive and must emphasize abstinence from sexual activity until marriage as an important personal goal. There's also no current policy regarding that medically accurate sexual education be taught in the state of Georgia. How great. In addition to not requiring curriculum to be comprehensive or medically accurate, Georgia also has a policy known as the opt-out policy, where parents can choose to remove their child from all or parts of sex education instruction that is provided by the school. In my personal experience, I remember when I was in middle school and I was first learning about sex education. We had to get our parents' consent to learn about the unit. Therefore, a permission slip was sent home with two options: to allow us as their child to stay in the classroom for the sex education unit, or for them to opt out as a whole and for us to go somewhere else while that unit was being taught. In addition to having abstinence-heavy sex education programs and opt-out policies, Georgia school districts are also allowed to choose how they want to structure their sex education curriculum, meaning that what someone learns in DeKalb County may be fully different from what someone learns in Fulton County. Although having comprehensive sex education in Georgia will benefit many, some people still oppose sex education in the classroom. Many parents believe that it is the parent's job to teach sex education. Therefore, sex ed has no place in the classroom and should not be dictated by the government. Sims, a Georgia parent and native, when asked, "Do you think Georgia schools should provide a comprehensive sex education?" answered, "No. I do not think Georgia schools should provide comprehensive sex education because I think it is the responsibility of the parent or guardian, providing a first-hand reasoning from a parent as to why sex education should not be provided in the classroom." Now, although there is no issue with wanting to provide sex education to your child, parents often do not provide comprehensive sex ed, including STDs and contraception at home, making the sex education provided by parents potentially harmful. For parents to trust educational institutions with the sex ed of their child, they must know that school sex education can work in tandem with what they believe their child should know and what they want their child to know. In addition to believing that parents should be the sole educators when providing sex education to their children, many parents believe that having comprehensive sex education in the classroom teaches their child to oppose the views that they are instilling in their home. According to United Families, a nonprofit organization dedicated to creating policies that focus on maintaining and strengthening the family, believes that the system is not just teaching academics, but they are teaching students how to have sex, the acceptance of gay or lesbian relationships, birth control options, and abortion. Schools do not necessarily teach abstinence or the role that abstinence plays in matrimonial union. Now, although comprehensive sex education does teach about gay and lesbian relationships, the curriculum does not tell a child what to believe about them. It is up to the child to construct their own view of their relationships outside of heterosexuality. Additionally, schools do teach about abstinence, but in addition to abstinence, they teach about other forms of contraception. If a parent wants to emphasize abstinence and its role in matrimonial union or premarital affairs, it can easily be taught at home alongside the school's comprehensive sex education program. To make our current sex education policies more comprehensive, Georgia should ensure that we are providing medically accurate sex education to our students that discuss informed consent, STDs, STIs, and emphasizes all forms of contraception equally, including but not limited to abstinence, condoms, and birth control. According to a recent study written by the journal Adolescent Health, a scientific journal dedicated to improving the health and well-being of adolescents, teens who received comprehensive sexuality education were 50% less likely to report a pregnancy than those who received abstinence-only education, proving the benefits of having a comprehensive sex education. Now, there are options that can be considered when looking at how to best approach providing a comprehensive sex education, such as providing a collaborative curriculum that is taught by both parents and educators, creating a program where we just trust students to teach themselves sex education, and the last option is creating a comprehensive sex ed curriculum that can be implemented across all Georgia school districts. Now, creating a collaborative curriculum might sound great at first, but it will not work because parents may not complete their part of the curriculum, leaving children with an incomplete, uncomprehensive sex education. Now, trusting a child with their own sex education also will not work. Students may use this time to indulge in things like social media content and gaming. Students may also learn their sex education from a source that cannot be trusted, which opens the door to a lot of other things, such as grooming. So it's best that a child is able to learn their sex education from a well-trusted, well-vetted adult. With those two choices being absolutely terrible, the best option is providing a comprehensive sex education in schools. With this comprehensive sex education that is implemented across all Georgia school districts, students can learn about sex education in a safe environment from a trusted adult. Each important topic will be covered, and any questions that a child may have will be answered by a trusted, well-educated adult. Now that we know the harms that not having a comprehensive sex education poses to Georgia students and the benefits that it could bring if we had a comprehensive sex education, we're going to talk about how we can get involved as voters and citizens to advocate for a comprehensive sex education for Georgia students. First, we can get involved by becoming familiarized with what sex education looks like in the state and our district. If it is not comprehensive, we can advocate and demand better sex education by writing letters to the superintendents and attending school PTA meetings as well as school board meetings. In addition to becoming familiarized with state and district policy, we can also vote for state representatives that advocate for comprehensive sex education practices to be taught in Georgia. State representatives that see the benefits of comprehensive sex education will advocate for comprehensive policies to be implemented in Georgia schools. According to actnow.org, a voting organization in Texas, local and state school board members who you elect will make decisions on policies and budgets that will affect how well prepared your children will be for the future. Although this was written by a Texas organization, that same principle applies to voting in Georgia. In addition to voting for state representatives that believe in providing comprehensive sex education, we can also donate to organizations that teach about comprehensive sex education in Georgia, such as the Georgia Campaign for Adolescent Power and Potential and Planned Parenthood. As you can see, Georgia's current sex education is not comprehensive and as a result contributes to the high pregnancy rates and high STD rates among the teen population in Georgia. We can advocate for comprehensive sex ed by voting and donating. Now that you know the benefits of comprehensive sex education, will you advocate for it in your school district?